Hey, thanks everybody for joining me today. I just wanted to make this video because as I was seeking the Lord, I was asking him, why is it that your word says you can lay hands on the sick and they'll be healed, and speak in tongues, prophesy, and all these great things? And I said, why am I not seeing that in my life? I mean, I'm a Christian, right? Been a Christian a long time, even though I didn't always act like it. And he said, answer came back real clear. He said, well, son, you don't need them. You don't need none of those. I said, what do you mean I don't need them? You're not doing what I told you to do. What did you tell me to do? I thought I was. Well, what does my word say? Well, your word says, love the Lord your God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. Well, I love you, Lord. I love my neighbor too. Love everybody. What's the problem? Where's my miracles at? Where's my blessings? He said, do you, John? Jonathan, son, do you love me? I said, of course I love you. He said, then why are you not doing what I told you to do? What did you tell me to do? And I flipped the Bible open to a couple scriptures that hit me right between the eyes, man. Go into all the world and preach the gospel. At the end of the book of John, the last chapter, right before Jesus went back up to heaven, he says, Peter, do you love me? Peter says, of course I love you. He said, then feed my flock. Again he asked him, Peter, do you love me? Peter said, Jesus, of course I love you. He said, then feed my flock. If you love me. If you love me, feed my flock. Jesus asked him again. Peter said, I love you. Jesus said, if you love me. If you don't love me, then don't worry about it. But if you love me, feed my flock. That's the number one commandment. Love God with all your heart. Jesus said, if you love me, then feed the flock. Second one, love your neighbor as yourself. The book of James talks about if somebody's hungry and you don't give them something to eat, then how can you say you have love in your heart? If you see somebody cold, freezing cold outside, you don't give them something to wear. I mean, gosh, you probably got 50 sweaters. If you can't give them a sweater to heat somebody up, then how can you say you have love? But I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, according to the earthly standard, you buy someone something to eat, great. You give someone a sweater, great. But I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that that's the earthly standard. The heavenly standard is you buy someone something to eat and use that as an opportunity to preach the gospel. Then man's not going to applaud. Man's not just going to applaud you. All of heaven will applaud you. All of heaven will rejoice over that one sinner you bring to repentance. How can you say you love your neighbor when you see that man going to hell and you've got the words of life? You got the words of life right here. This is my old Bible. The sucker's worn out to the hilt. Look at it. It looks triangular. You got the words of life right here. If you're not sharing these words with people, then how can you say that you love them? And how can you say you love God? You walk past people with your nose in the air because you're going to heaven. Well, they're not. Well, my neighbor doesn't believe in Jesus. He doesn't believe in God. It's not your job to make them believe. It's your job to preach the gospel. In America, everyone's got that seed planted in them. This is a Christian nation. Well, it was 4 years ago. People got that seed in them. All you have to do is come along and water it. Paul says, some water, some plant seeds, some water, but it's God who brings the increase. Guys, it's not your job to worry about how they take what you say. You might just be planting the seed. You might just be watering it. It might be the next guy that comes along where they're going through something in their life and they say, my God, I need you. So all I'm saying, everybody, be obedient. Love your Lord your God and love your neighbor. Both of those commandments are fulfilled Both of them. You love God and you love your neighbor by witnessing, by preaching the gospel. All right, guys, I love you. That's all I wanted to say. God bless. Anybody needs prayer, call me. It's on my Facebook page.